Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to dive into the reasonings of the strategies that I am going to be sharing with you all and how to properly apply them towards your next vehicle purchase, especially when dealing with a dealer. To fully understand the negotiation techniques in this channel, first you need to understand the behavior matrix of the average consumer when it comes to automotive purchases here in the United States. When I train my sales staff and my finance personnel, the first thing that need to be understood is the 80% rule when it comes to dealing with clients and how potential clients behave when they walk onto a dealership. The concept is very simple, and it is as follows. Out of everyone that shows up at a dealership, let's use 100 people, for example, representing 100%, 10 out of those 100 people, they'll buy whatever you tell them to. Essentially, they're just happy that they're getting a vehicle, and anything that you show them, they're going to be happy with because it's either better than what they currently drove in on, or they're not driving at all. So out of that 100%, 10% will purchase a vehicle. No matter what you do, you can't mess it up. Out of that same 100 potential clients, 80 of them showed up at the dealership to purchase a vehicle. So they're either in the market, will be in the market, towards the end of the market cycle because they have to purchase something. But either way, that 80% is moldable. So this is consumers that you can control based on how you lead them throughout the sales process because they're already open to doing business with you on some extent. Finally, out of the 100 people that shows up at the dealership, 10 of those 100, so the last 10% are educated consumers, people that know exactly what they're looking for. They've done the research, they know what they can afford, and no matter what a salesperson or manager tells them at a dealership, they have a baseline and a goal. And unless that goal is met, there's nothing you can do to convince them otherwise into a vehicle purchase. These are the educated buyers and the savvy buyers. And essentially, these are the consumers that this channel is dedicated to cultivating. I feel confident that with the proper understanding and reasoning behind why we do what we do and how we should do it, you would be armed with the proper arsenal in your next vehicle purchase as far as spotting a good deal or negotiating a good term or just simply getting the best value and equity out of your current possession while transitioning into a newer vehicle or whatever it is you're negotiating into. So now you understand the baseline of consumer behavior. Next, we need to understand the baseline of market conditions. And market conditions, as we know, are shaped by the environment around us. And the first thing that we need to cover so everyone can understand why the automotive marketplace is operating the way it is today is to understand the shift of consumer consciousness during and after the COVID-19 pandemic, especially here in America. The automotive sector is one of the pillars of the American economy, and it is not an accident or coincidence that during the COVID-19 pandemic, where everything else was closed, including beaches in California, which is absurd, one of the few locations that were open to the general public outside of grocery stores is automotive dealerships. Not only did automotive dealerships remain open and operational, the American media also got involved to push narratives on how to further expand the industry for profit to keep the American economy going. Prior to 2020, never in my decades of automotive experience did CNN, Fox News, and other media outlets openly express how vehicle value has risen and you should be paying more for a car here in America. And they've done so by promoting the idea of scarcity. Although it is true that the pandemic limited social interaction, which in turn limited the ability for efficient trade throughout the world, that shift in commerce is essentially adjusted already into the price of goods manufactured and distributed through that time period. But because of media involvement and the further promotion of scarcity through scare tactic, a lot of consumers at that time ended up overspending and paying above and beyond the manufacturer's suggested retail pricing for vehicles that were produced through 2020 all the way till now. This is a very interesting scenario, as before COVID-19, people tend to negotiate when purchasing a vehicle the amount that should be taken off in comparison to the manufacturer's suggested retail pricing. In fact, prior to 2020, the savvy consumers, when purchasing a new vehicle, generally ask to see the invoice of that vehicle and try to purchase that vehicle based on invoice pricing rather than manufacturer's suggested retail pricing. Whereas during COVID, all the way up until current day, the idea started by the media and further magnified by the dealership is that a vehicle now, because of scarcity, should cost more than the manufacturer's suggested retail pricing. To further push that narrative, dealers are even adding additional items or incentives which a consumer generally should have a choice to opt in or out of, now are being added to the manufacturer's suggested retail pricing so they can justify the tremendous markup that's been set forth as the norm during COVID. What's even more alarming is that some dealers have even gone as far as to cover the MSRP suggested retail pricing on the window sticker of the new vehicle and are attempting to pass the price that they are putting on the window sticker as the actual manufacturer's suggested retail pricing of the vehicle. This is extremely important to understand because prior to 2020, manufacturers did not allow for that. And I believe in certain states, there's even laws against it. But now this is actually becoming the norm when it comes to dealing with a new car dealer when purchasing a new vehicle. I share this with you because a lot of the techniques that we will cover on this channel is specifically put in place to offset the assumption that the marketplace has tried to bestow upon the consumers coming into 2025. The fact of the matter is we're at a point in the market where it can no longer sustain the upward trajectory, and we are entering into a phase of correction. But unless you know exactly what you're looking for or understand what you're getting into, you will not recognize this phase until after the industry has corrected. And that is really not what we want to do, is be at the end of a trend. We want to recognize this as it is going on so we can take advantage of the realities of the marketplace so we can get a good deal now by being savvy enough to recognize what is going on. The truth is most salesperson or even managers at the dealerships are reluctant to accept this as fact, and they are still doing business the old-fashioned way. But if the transaction is presented correctly through negotiations, obviously as a business owner or upper management, we recognize the shift and we will make certain adjustments just to eliminate a liability from our lot rather than holding on to something that is going to continuously decrease in value. Furthermore, the information shared on this channel is geared towards the average consumer, which in today's matrix, 80% of the consumers purchasing a new vehicle due to the higher pricing and inflation are financing that vehicle rather than paying for it cash. So with that understanding, this channel is going to cover ways that is going to save you money in respect to getting a automotive loan while purchasing that vehicle. Some of the information we share may be considered straightforward, and for the novice buyer and negotiators, they very much are. Because in order for you to get the most out of your money, I do recommend that you follow these strategies, even if you don't necessarily understand it. Obviously, for the more savvy buyers, when we're discussing down payments and loan to values, you would definitely get a lower payment if you put money down, obviously. But unless you know how to negotiate that transaction correctly, the average consumer will get taken advantage of should they put money down towards a vehicle without knowing how to negotiate the proper value behind the loan that they're taking out. Basically, this is for the people. And if you're a professional, please drop a line in the comments if you would like me to cover more in-depth topics or a higher level of strategic negotiation, which I would be more than happy to address. But the regular videos that I put out on a day-to-day basis is going to cover the most basic of automotive negotiations, as this will apply to the average consumer that are visiting this channel, which needs the help that we're giving them. So don't be shy. Subscribe, follow, turn on that notification, drop comments, and debate me if you want to. Because at the end of the day, there's no ego here. We're doing this for the people. And if you can benefit, that will bring me great joy. And hopefully we will all be rewarded with the information that we share with each other.